You keep saying the same sentence over and over again, almost like a reflex. I don't have time. We say it when an opportunity shows up. We say it when growth feels uncomfortable. We say it when the work in front of us asks for more than we're ready to give. And the sentence sounds reasonable. It sounds responsible. It sounds true. But it isn't, because time is not something we have or don't have. Time is something we spend. And the way we spend it reveals what we truly value, not what we say we value. If time were really the problem, then success would be random. It would be reserved for people with special schedules or longer days. But that's not how life works. Everyone starts with the same 24 hours. The difference is not time. The difference is priority. We don't run out of time. We run out of clarity. When we don't know what matters most, everything competes for our attention. Every email feels urgent. Every request feels important. Every distraction feels justified. And by the end of the day, we feel exhausted but strangely empty, wondering why we were so busy yet moved nowhere meaningful. Here's the hard truth most people avoid. If something is truly important to us, we find the time. Always. We find time for people we love. We find time for emergencies. We find time for things that align with our identity. We don't ask, do I have time? We ask, what needs to move out of the way? So when we say we don't have time to succeed, what we're really saying is that success hasn't become a priority yet. Not because we're lazy, not because we don't care, but because we haven't decided why it matters enough to rearrange our lives for it. Most people confuse being busy with being committed. Busy is reacting, committed is choosing. Busy fills the calendar, committed protects the calendar. And there's a big difference. When you don't know what you're working toward, you say yes to everything. You let other people's priorities decide how you spend your day. You live in constant motion, but you're not moving forward. Priority isn't about doing more things. It's about deciding what not to do. The moment you gain clarity, something uncomfortable happens. You start disappointing people. You start missing out. You start leaving things unfinished that once made you feel productive. And that discomfort is the price of focus. But focus is the gateway to success. Because when your priority is clear, time bends around it. You wake up earlier. You plan differently. You stop scrolling and start building. Not because someone forced you to, but because it finally makes sense. This is why advice about time management often fails. Schedules don't change behavior. Beliefs do. You can download the best planner in the world, but if your purpose is weak, your calendar will collapse the moment life gets hard. But when your reason is strong, you don't need motivation, you need permission. Permission to choose what matters over what's convenient. Success doesn't begin with better habits. It begins with better decisions. And decisions come from clarity. Ask yourself this. If everything in your life stayed the same for the next 5 years, except this one goal, would it be worth the sacrifice? If the answer is yes, then time will appear. Not magically, intentionally, because we make time for who we believe we are becoming. If success feels optional, time will always be scarce. If success feels essential, time will be non-negotiable. This is why priority must come before discipline. Discipline without priority feels like punishment, but discipline fueled by purpose feels like alignment. You're not failing because you don't have time. You're stuck because too many things matter equally. And the moment you decide what matters most, everything else finds its place. Not easily, not comfortably, but clearly. And clarity is where success begins. Most people believe success begins with effort. Work harder, push more, wake up earlier, sleep later, and if it still doesn't work, they assume something is wrong with them. But effort without direction is just exhaustion. The real starting point of success is not what you do with your time, but why you do anything at all. Because when the reason is unclear, time becomes the excuse. And when the reason is clear, time becomes irrelevant. We don't struggle to find time for what matters to us. We struggle to commit to what we don't fully believe in yet. Think about how differently we behave when something has meaning. We show up even when we're tired. We persist even when progress is invisible. We protect it even when no one is watching, meaning changes behavior long before discipline ever does. This is why so many people feel stuck despite being busy. They're doing a lot, but they don't know what it's all for. Their days are full, but their direction is empty. And without direction, time gets wasted on activities that feel productive but lead nowhere. A clear reason acts like a filter. It tells you what deserves your energy and what doesn't. It helps you recognize distractions not as temptations but as costs. Every yes becomes intentional, and every no becomes easier. Without that filter, everything looks important. And when everything is important, nothing truly is. Many people wait for confidence before they commit. They want certainty before they invest time. But certainty doesn't come first. Commitment does. You don't discover your reason by thinking about it endlessly. You discover it by acting, reflecting, and refining. Clarity is not a lightning strike. It's a process. And that process requires time, which is why so many people avoid it. Because investing time without guaranteed results feels risky. But avoiding the risk guarantees stagnation. A strong reason doesn't eliminate doubt. It gives doubt context. You will still feel tired. You will still feel afraid. You will still question yourself. But instead of stopping, you continue because stopping would cost you something meaningful. This is the moment when time stops being your enemy and starts becoming your ally. You stop asking, how much time will this take? You start asking, who do I become if I don't do this? And that question changes everything. People who succeed don't manage time better. They manage meaning better. They understand that time follows purpose, not the other way around. When your reason is strong, you don't need external pressure. You don't need someone to hold you accountable. You don't need perfect conditions. The drive becomes internal, quiet, and steady. This is why motivation fades, but purpose endures. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. Purpose is structural. It holds you in place when emotions fluctuate. When you connect your actions to something bigger than comfort, sacrifice stops feeling like loss. It starts feeling like investment. Late nights aren't suffering, they're choices. Missed distractions aren't deprivation, they're alignment. And alignment creates momentum. Momentum is what most people mistake for talent. But it's not talent, it's direction combined with consistency. Without a clear reason, consistency feels impossible. With a clear reason, consistency feels natural. This is also why copying someone else's routine rarely works. You can borrow their habits, but you can't borrow their reason. And without the reason, the habits collapse under pressure. Your reason must be yours. It must connect to your values, not your ego. It must serve something beyond applause, beyond money, beyond validation, because those things fade the moment they're achieved. But meaning compounds. When your days are aligned with meaning, time stops slipping away unnoticed. It starts leaving evidence, progress, growth, impact. You don't need to know the full plan. You need to know the direction. And direction is enough to begin. Success is not about filling every hour with effort. It's about ensuring every effort points somewhere that matters. Once you know why you're moving, finding the time is no longer the challenge. Choosing to move is. We live in a world that celebrates being busy. We praise long hours. We admire packed schedules. We wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, as if the more tired we are, the more important we must be. Somewhere along the way, being busy became proof that we're doing something meaningful. But busyness is not the same as progress. Busyness is easy. It requires no courage, no clarity, no commitment. All it asks is that we keep moving, forward, sideways, in circles. It doesn't matter. As long as we're occupied, we feel safe. As long as we're busy, we don't have to ask the harder questions. The problem is, busy feels productive, even when it's empty. You can fill every minute of your day, and still feel like your life isn't moving forward. You can answer every message, attend every meeting, complete every task, and still feel disconnected from success. That feeling isn't laziness. It's misalignment. When we don't know what truly matters, we default to activity. We let urgency replace importance. We let noise drown out intention. And slowly, without realizing it, our time gets consumed by things that don't deserve it. Busyness thrives on reaction. Notifications decide our focus. Other people's priorities dictate our schedule. We spend our days responding instead of creating, and by the time we stop moving, we're too tired to reflect on where all that energy went. Progress, on the other hand, requires stillness before movement. It asks us to pause long enough to decide what deserves our effort. It asks us to tolerate discomfort, the discomfort of saying no, of disappointing others, of choosing one path while closing others. That's why so many people stay busy. It's safer than being intentional, because intention creates accountability. When you choose a direction, you can no longer blame time, circumstances, or other people. You have to own the outcome. Busy people hide in motion. Purposeful people accept responsibility. And here's the paradox. The more intentional you become, the fewer things you do, but the more impact you create. Progress doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right things consistently. Yet consistency requires space. And space requires saying no. Every yes is a trade. When you say yes to distraction, you say no to depth. When you say yes to urgency, you say no to growth. These trades happen quietly, day after day, until years pass and we wonder why nothing changed. Busyness keeps us occupied. Purpose moves us forward. This is why time feels scarce when we're busy and abundant when we're aligned. When your actions match your intentions, even small windows of time become powerful. 15 focused minutes can outperform hours of distracted effort. But focus is uncomfortable in a world designed to distract. Focus asks you to be present with your thoughts, to confront uncertainty, to resist the dopamine of instant gratification. And most people would rather be busy than be alone with that discomfort. Yet success demands focus, not the kind that burns you out, but the kind that anchors you, the kind that says this matters more than the rest, the kind that allows you to work deeply without needing constant validation. When you remove busyness, you don't become lazy, you become precise. You start measuring your days not by how full they are, but by how meaningful they feel. You stop asking, did I do enough? And start asking, did I do what mattered? That shift changes everything. It changes how you plan your mornings. It changes how you end your days. It changes what you tolerate and what you protect. And slowly, almost invisibly, momentum builds. Real progress is often quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand applause. It simply accumulates. Busyness seeks recognition. Purpose seeks results. This is why some people appear calm while building extraordinary lives. They're not doing more, they're doing less with intention. They don't chase every opportunity. They choose the right ones. They don't confuse movement with meaning. They align their actions with their direction. Finding time to succeed isn't about filling your schedule. It's about clearing it. Clearing space for thinking. Clearing space for learning. Clearing space for the work that actually moves the needle. When you stop worshiping busyness, you start respecting your time. And when you respect your time, success stops feeling rushed. It starts feeling inevitable. Not because you're busy, but because you're deliberate. We often talk about time as if it's something hidden from us, something we need to search for. We say we need to find time, as if time is misplaced, as if it's waiting somewhere in the future, ready to appear once life calms down. But life doesn't calm down. It never has, and it never will. Time is not discovered. Time is decided. Every day we make thousands of decisions, most of them unconsciously. What to pay attention to, what to ignore, what to postpone, what to protect. And those decisions stacked together become our life. The mistake most people make is believing they'll choose later. Later when things slow down. Later when they feel more confident. Later when they're more prepared. But later is rarely a moment. It's a pattern of avoidance. Waiting to find time is a way of avoiding responsibility. Because deciding what deserves your time forces you to confront trade-offs. It forces you to accept that choosing one thing means not choosing another. And that can be uncomfortable, especially in a world that tells us we can have everything, we can't. And the people who succeed understand this early. They don't wait for permission from their schedule. They give permission to themselves. They decide what matters enough to be protected. Protection is the key word here. If something matters, you don't squeeze it into the leftovers of your day. You build your day around it. You defend it from interruptions. You treat it with the same seriousness you would treat a commitment to someone else. Most of us would never cancel on an important person without a good reason. Yet we cancel on ourselves constantly. We postpone our goals, our growth, our health, and our dreams, not because they're unimportant, but because they're not enforced. Decisions create boundaries. Boundaries create time. Without boundaries, time gets consumed by the loudest voice, the latest message, the most urgent request. And urgency has a way of masquerading as importance. Just because something demands your attention doesn't mean it deserves it. Deciding what deserves your time requires courage. The courage to disappoint people. The courage to be misunderstood. The courage to say no without over-explaining. And that courage doesn't come from confidence. It comes from conviction. When you're convicted about what matters, explanations become unnecessary. You don't argue with your priorities. You act on them. This is where many people struggle. They confuse flexibility with freedom. They keep their schedule open, their options endless, their commitments loose, and it feels liberating. Until nothing meaningful gets built, freedom without direction becomes drift. Direction without decision becomes intention with no impact. Success requires commitment. And commitment requires choosing, not once, but repeatedly. Every day, you wake up and reaffirm what matters. Not with words, but with action. With what you give your best energy to. With what you protect when things get chaotic. Deciding what deserves your time doesn't mean your life becomes rigid. It means it becomes intentional. There will still be interruptions. There will still be emergencies. There will still be seasons where balance looks different. But intention keeps you from losing yourself in the noise. This is also why saying yes feels so easy and saying no feels so hard. Yes gives immediate relief. No creates temporary discomfort, but discomfort is often the cost of long-term fulfillment. Every time you say no to what doesn't align, you say yes to something that does, even if you can't see the result yet. Decisions compound. One decision doesn't change your life. 1,000 small decisions made in alignment do. And those decisions quietly shape how time shows up for you. You don't need to control every minute. You need to control the direction. When the direction is clear, your time starts working for you instead of against you. You stop feeling rushed and start feeling grounded. You stop feeling guilty and start feeling aligned. Success is not about managing chaos. It's about choosing meaning. And meaning is always chosen, never found. The moment you stop waiting for time, start deciding what deserves it, your life shifts, not all at once, not dramatically, but permanently. Because from that moment on, your time tells the truth about who you are becoming. We tend to believe that success comes from big moments. The breakthrough, the turning point, the sudden burst of motivation that changes everything overnight. So we wait for intensity. We wait for the day we feel unstoppable. We wait for the perfect wave of energy to arrive before we commit fully. And while we re-waiting, nothing changes. Because success is rarely built in moments of intensity. It's built in moments of consistency. Intensity is exciting, it feels powerful, it makes us feel capable. But intensity is also fragile. It depends on mood, circumstances, and energy, and those things are unreliable. Consistency is quieter. Consistency doesn't ask how you feel, it asks who you've decided to be. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. They push hard for short periods, burn out, then retreat, convinced they failed. But they didn't fail. They just relied on the wrong strategy. Sustainable success is not about pushing harder. It's about showing up again. Small actions, repeated daily, create trust. Not just trust with others, trust with yourself. And self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it's small, you reinforce your identity. You become the kind of person who follows through. That identity is far more powerful than motivation. Consistency turns effort into evidence. Evidence that progress is happening. Evidence that you are capable. Evidence Hat time is working in your favor. This is why consistency feels boring to many people. It doesn't provide instant rewards. It doesn't create dramatic stories. It doesn't give immediate validation. But it creates results. Intensity wants applause. Consistency wants alignment. When you choose consistency, you stop asking for permission from your emotions. You stop negotiating with yourself every morning. You remove the daily debate about whether or not to show up. You simply show up. And when you show up regularly, time becomes an ally. Days stack into weeks. Weeks stack into months. Months stack into years. What once felt impossible becomes inevitable. This is also where many people get stuck. They wait until they can give everything. But success doesn't require everything. It requires something done regularly. 10 focused minutes a day is powerful. 1 page written daily becomes a book. 1 honest conversation a week transforms relationships. 1 small improvement every day compounds into mastery. Consistency lowers the barrier to action. It makes progress accessible even on hard days, especially on hard days, because consistency isn't about perfection. It's about return. You will miss days. You will fall off track. You will lose momentum. That's not failure. Failure is not returning. Successful people don't avoid setbacks. They recover faster. They don't let one missed day turn into a missed month. Consistency builds resilience. It teaches you that progress is not fragile, that you don't lose everything because of one mistake, that you can restart without shame. This mindset changes how you experience time. Instead of feeling behind, you feel in motion. Instead of feeling pressured, you feel patient. Instead of chasing results, you focus on process. And process is where growth lives. When you commit to consistency, you stop relying on external motivation. You create internal rhythm, and rhythm is sustainable. You don't need to feel inspired every day. You need a system that supports you on days you're not. Success is not the result of heroic effort. It's the outcome of ordinary actions done with intention over and over again. Consistency is not glamorous, but it is reliable, and reliability builds momentum. When you embrace consistency over intensity, you stop asking, do I have enough energy today? You start asking, what's the smallest step I can take and still move forward? That question removes pressure. It removes fear. It removes the excuse of waiting, because success doesn't demand everything from you today. It asks for something tomorrow and the next day and the day after that. And when you honor that commitment, time stops being something you fight. It becomes something that works for you. At the end of the day, finding the time to succeed in life was never about hours, schedules, or perfect routines. It was always about choice. Choice is the quiet force behind every meaningful life. Not the dramatic, once-in-a-lifetime kind, but the small, repeated decisions we make when no one is watching. Success doesn't arrive because life finally slows down. It arrives when we stop waiting for permission from time and start giving direction to it. When we stop blaming the clock and start listening to our values. Because time has always been honest. It gives itself fully to whatever we place at the center of our lives. The truth is, we already know how to make time. We do it instinctively for what we love, for what we fear losing, and for what defines who we are. The challenge is not learning a new skill. The challenge is having the courage to decide what truly matters and letting everything else fall into its proper place. Clarity creates focus. Focus demands boundaries. Boundaries protect consistency. And consistency over time creates success. Not the loud kind that seeks attention, but the quiet kind that endures, the kind that reshapes identity, not just outcomes. We don't need to do more. We need to do what matters repeatedly. We don't need intensity that burns bright and fades fast. We need commitment that shows up even on ordinary days, especially on ordinary days. When purpose guides your priorities, busyness loses its power. Distractions stop looking attractive. Excuses lose their voice. And time, once an enemy, becomes a partner. Each day becomes a brick, not a blur. Each choice becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. Success is not built in grand moments of motivation. It is built in quiet consistency, protected time, and intentional decisions. It is built when you choose progress over comfort, alignment over approval, and meaning over noise. So stop asking where the time went. Start deciding where it should go. Stop waiting for the right moment. Become the person who creates moments through action. Because life doesn't reward intention alone. It rewards follow-through. Finding the time to succeed in life is not about controlling every minute. It's about honoring what matters most. When you do that, time stops slipping through your fingers. It starts leaving evidence behind, and that evidence becomes your life.